Hello and welcome back to Generic Sports Podcast. I'm your host, the Goose, Josh.
And I'm John.
And today we'll speak about whatever week it is. It's gone too fast. Week 13.
Week 13, insert dread here of the football season ending.
Right. On the bright side, it's probably one of the best weeks of football. Too many games to talk about. So, obvious choice we have to go with first is the Chargers at the Patriots.
Couldn't get through that with a straight face.
No.
Let's just get through it. Let's just get through it. It's done. No, there we go.
Right. Chargers won 6-0. That was it. Okay.
All right. Brandon Staley should still be fired, or Kellen Moore for that, even though they won the game. And, Patriots troubles continue. Moving on.
Right. Let's get rid of the other bad games first. Falcons won 13-8 against the Jets. There was a safety. The Falcons won.
The Jets defense is still good. They had an offense or mainly a quarterback.
Pretty much. And the only other games that kind of looked ugly or one-sided. And I guess we'll start with the Cardinals to really get into it. They shockingly they beat the Steelers 24-10, and it was only kind of close at the end when the Steelers got a touchdown. Cardinals were feeling very frisky.
With all those delays, I think they had a lot of rest, but I don't know if that I don't think that changed anything at all.
No,
Kyler and McBride were just wrecking them.
Right? Like, it speaks a lot too about Jonathan Gannon keeping the team competitive.
And James Conner definitely had his revenge game.
Yes. Honestly, I'm happy to see this about the Cardinals, because to me that just says, okay, you keep Kyler Murray, you don't worry about the quarterback. If you want to get some extra draft capital for the next year, you could, or you're going to have one of those top picks. And guess what? Marvin Harrison Jr. staying in red, looking good in red. That I could see that. That would be that could be it.
The problem is that I don't think this was the last win of the season for them, honestly.
True. But we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Kenny Pickett got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They only scored 10 points. They play Thursday against those Patriots we've mentioned.
It is not going to be the nicest Thursday night football game.
I don't even know if I want to watch it. If there was ever a time to be able to flex out a game on short notice, this should have been the week.
Yep, but
I don't know why it wasn't flexed out at the time. Literally any other game would have been fine. I would have taken the Broncos Chargers on a short week.
Tampa Bay at Atlanta would have been fine. Detroit at Chicago would have been
anything
fine.
Would have been fine except for this game, except for a Jets game.
It's Houston at the Jets.
You know what? I would have taken that, honestly. Never mind. I'd take back what I said, just because I'd like, more CJ Stroud. I'm upset at him and the Texans this week. Mm-hmm. But other than this week, as long as we don't see each other in the playoffs, I'll be rooting for the Texans. But besides that, no, Steelers, are you sure you fired Matt Canada?
I know Kenny Pickett got hurt, but their problem...
Trubisky is first of all, I think he's got a winning record. He's not that far off from Gardner Minshew as far as winning records go, and he is more than a capable backup. So...
what was it? I feel that their problems stem beyond their problems on offense stem beyond Matt Canada. And I don't know if there's chemistry issues, but they have the weapons. Deontay Johnson and Pickens and Freiermuth all seem good. I just think the Cardinals just were ready for them. They just had the better game. And I think we'll see the Cardinals be frisky in a few more games like this.
Right. Well, they've been frisky all season, so
right.
They are. I don't know.
They are a very strong 3-10 team.
Right. That's the thing. It's you think about 3-10. The Broncos were kind of like that last season. Difference with this team and having all those losses, they looked competent in those losses. The Broncos did not. So that being said, we'll go on to the only other really not competitive game, and that is your Dolphins beating the Commanders handedly. Is that the biggest blowout score of the week? 30 points? I think it is.
I believe it is the biggest blowout, and once again, it was one of those fun weeks.
Some of us didn't have fun. I mean,
Okay, we will get to your game. Yeah, the Dolphins just came out, did not shoot themselves in the foot. There were no turnovers by the Dolphins. That's what they needed to do.
Really important.
Especially against the team that's not getting turnovers.
And fire their defensive coordinator. How many touchdowns did Tua get?
I think it was just 2. I think a lot of the others were running touchdowns.
Well, that's fine. First of all, it's a balanced offense, which nobody talks about enough.
Right? If you're running,
that Miami really is a balanced offense, not just Tua throwing the ball.
If your running backs are having running touchdowns, then if you're running the ball effectively, then yes, your quarterback's going to have less yards and less touchdowns. Especially when this is the third game this season that Tua sat because we were winning.
See, and that you didn't let me build up. That was going to be my next question. Mm-hmm. How many times has Tua got to sit and be benched because of great team play?
Right, we were destroying them.
You were. It was just it was weird not being able to really watch them because I'm focusing on the Broncos game, because it was weird to see that they got flexed into the morning because CBS wanted to have them play. So it was weird not being able to watch the Dolphins, highlights of the Dolphins, and watch the Broncos. But one game was definitely a closer game than the other. So
yeah, Tua only missed 6 passes, and the entire last drive was just Achan and Jeff Wilson running the ball down their throat. Like, the play was literally first down, run the ball, second down, run the ball, third down, run the ball, all the way to the end zone.
And Raheem even got a rest too.
Yeah, Raheem rested. Yeah, everyone was. Yeah, basically, yeah, everyone was resting at the end there, and we still scored a touchdown.
The big question is, and hopefully we'll be able to do a overview, like what's going to happen the rest of the season podcast. Big thing is to actually beat a winning team where you can say, like, it's like, hey, we beat these easy teams, we could beat a winning team, because you got Dallas, Baltimore, and don't you have another one?
Buffalo.
Well, Buffalo technically isn't a winning team right now.
We'll wait to see Buffalo's fate, but they're still a divisional opponent, so no matter what their record is, I'm still counting them as a tough opponent.
Yeah.
They always play us hard. Anyways, but certain highlights of 260 plus yard touchdowns for Tyreek that Tua threw to him brilliantly, and that Tyreek had to adjust. The 60-yard one Tyreek had to adjust on and still scored for a touchdown. The first one Tua called an audible because he noticed it was like Tyreek's favorite matchup and noticed it and said, all right, and 78-yard touchdown.
I do think they don't give Tua enough credit. He's let's say he's not the elite of the elite, but he's a top 10 quarterback, and he's really established that between this season and last season. With injuries aside, from last season, like, just look at the games he was in. Mm-hmm. Look at his season this year. There's a reason he's in the MVP conversation. Part of that reason is Tyreek, who should be ahead of him in the MVP conversation, especially from. But when you look at some of these quarterbacks that threw the ball, he threw about 50 yards, and Tyreek took it the rest of the way. It wasn't like, Tyreek didn't have much yards after the, much yak.
Yeah, these are gigantic throws and not much yak. But yeah, and this was probably one of the best games we played on all 3 phases. Like, no missed. Like, Jason Sanders made the field goal. Defense.
What was that? I was gonna say, what was that Jalen Ramsey that you told me?
Right. That I think Jalen Ramsey was on Terry McLaurin the entire time, but Terry McLaurin played 82% of the snaps and had 0 catches, 0 yards.
How many targets do you happen to know?
Let's see if we have targets. 3, but if someone's covering you,
right?
And this was like, I think one of Sam Howell's worst games. He only had 127 yards and an interception, which was Andrew Van Ginkel's pick 6, who was like the 5th fastest play for the NFL. He went like 20 miles per hour, which was, a lot of these guys are fast.
Right.
But a lot of them were playing, I felt, got boosted because they were playing for Jalen Phillips, who got injured last week. I think I forgot to mention that, but he tore his Achilles, and a lot of them, like I think Emmanuel Ogba held up the 15, like the 1 and the 5 for him.
I was gonna say, to be fair, and this is an absolutely sad stat, who hasn't tore their Achilles at MetLife Stadium? Because I believe that there's I remember seeing something about I think there's 15 players since 2020.
There was some stat like that, yeah, that we saw.
And that includes, I don't know if that included Jalen Phillips, but it definitely included Aaron Rodgers.
Right, and it's nice to have Achan back.
And not get hurt.
Yeah, when he's in play, we score 30 to 40 points.
Right.
Even in garbage time or whatever, we don't need a score, and they can't stop him. And so it's just been a lot of fun. I love the roller coaster touchdown celebration.
Oh, was that what that was?
Yeah,
I had no clue.
yeah, when you watch it and see they go down, and then they strap in and go wee wee. This is totally great on an audio podcast, me waving my hands doing it. Yes, you can totally see.
Why are you acting like you're going down a slide? That's not anything what you were talking about. He's lying, ladies and gentlemen.
One of us is telling the truth, and the other is being a silly goose.
Of course.
But yeah, and I also wanted to mention about the Dolphins O-line that I think Robert Hunt and Taron Armstead actually got hurt in the middle of the game, and the O-line didn't change, and they didn't give up anything. And this was a lot of people were saying about Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson that they were not good the last few years since after them, and this was their best game.
To be fair, Washington doesn't have much. I don't know how they beat the Broncos, but a good game is a good game nonetheless. So
confidence building is still confidence building.
So anything else? Or
defense played great. Like I said, all phases of the game great. We're 9-3, and as of this exact moment of recording, we are number 1 of the AFC, and I'm happy about that for as long as it lasts. Hopefully it lasts a long time.
Well, we'll see, because the state of Florida will have the number 1 team.
You're right. It's going to be interesting with the Jaguars. Between the Jaguars, the Ravens, and the Dolphins, since I know those 3 play each other. Well, the Ravens play both of them. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's good for the Dolphins.
So now we'll go back to the beginning, and Thursday was a wild one with the Cowboys and the Seahawks. Cowboys finally beat a winning team, and then brought them down to a 500 team. But still, they had a winning record going into that game.
That they did, and was not expecting a shootout with Dallas's defense.
No punts.
And that they torched Deron Bland a few times.
But he did get that key interception when they needed him to.
Right? At least he came in clutch. But I'm like, Bland, you were so good. What the heck?
I would like to go see some of the greats, like Champ Bailey, Dion, Revis.
Everyone, you can have good games. Everyone. I think they've said that. I think we watched it on Speak. They mentioned about what was it? I forget. There was I think it was that there are greats, but sometimes just good players can beat those greats randomly. I think it was Stevie Johnson was beating out Darrelle Revis or something like that.
I don't even remember who that is.
Stevie Johnson was a receiver on the Bills, and he was he would beat out Darrelle Revis. So it's sometimes great can shut down great, and sometimes good can be great. Sometimes they just have bad games, and sometimes DK Metcalf who had the fastest play of the season so far at 22.6 or something. I don't know. It's I want Tyreek or Achan or someone on the Dolphins to outrun him.
We'll see. It's not.
I want them to, but it's not the biggest deal. It's just silly. It's one of those silly things I want.
Yeah.
They can just keep scoring points and win teams. That's all I want. And win games. That's really what I want for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a pretty silly stat, but Deron Bland. He's playing against DK Metcalf. Right, yeah. Metcalf is great. I'll be honest with you. I know I say speeds. Having the fastest speed is not the most important thing, but being a speedy receiver
is important.
And I will will say, like, I can eventually see that the Dolphins eventually try to trade for DK Metcalf when Tyreek Hill is retired. So we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. So I'm calling that.
Way too early predictions.
December 4th, 2023. We will come back to this. I'm calling it here first, unless there's some other small podcast that called it beforehand. But I'm calling it here first, as far as I know it.
You heard it here.
Greatest honk of approval if it happens, and my prediction will I get 2 bags of chips. Yes.
Yes, all that and 2 bags of chips.
We
will turn on reruns of all that as well.
Right. I don't want to watch that. Okay. Anyways, but Dak played great. He's in the MVP talk right now, and it's really hard to say anyone right now. For me, the true MVPs are. I guess I could say. I guess I could kind of. I don't know if I really want to keep Jalen Hurts in. He's got to be in the top 5, but I feel like right now it's Dak, Brock, Tua, Tyreek, and I'd say Jalen Hurts. I can't. But Patrick Mahomes is the one I think I gotta count out right now. It's just like let's be fair. The Chiefs defense has kept them alive. I don't feel like he's playing his best ball. And same like Lamar. I think Lamar would even be 6 over Patrick Mahomes. We'll
I think
see.
Lamar is still doing fine. I need to see his stats for the season.
Right. Well, the worst thing is Lamar just didn't play this week.
Right.
When Brock Purdy had a great game, where Dak Prescott had a great game, where Tua had a good game, and where Tyreek had a great game. And I'd have to say Tyreek is probably there where Tua's 4th. And
I really think it depends on if Tyreek breaks the record.
Tyreek breaks the record, gets the triple crown and all that. I think it's got to be him, because the quarterback play has just been, I want to say, just all right. If we're counting like Jalen and Mahomes, like they are not playing as good as they did last season. So that's why I see these other quarterbacks coming up, because they're having better seasons than they did than what we're used to. And I mean, nobody's really playing great quarterback like the last few years. So.
Right, like I know, like Tua has 3,400 yards and 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions right now. If he keeps going forward, I think he'll be good. I know Tyreek thinks Tua's the MVP right now, but
I'll be honest. If a Dolphin wins it, it's probably like they'll be like, "Nah, come up with me co-MVP." Like,
right, they're both like, I think, humble guys that they understand where the success that the success is mutually from both of them.
Right.
Honestly, we're just having the Dolphins are having good team success, and so I understand. Like I've said, I want the Super Bowl MVP and like the Super Bowl trophy more than I want the MVP. So anyone else can have it. I just want the highest thing you can get.
All right. So that's enough MVP talk. We can move on from the game. I mean, I guess he's not going to be an MVP, but he feels like he's the most valuable player on the Colts. And right now it's Gardner Minshew. He is throwing the ball. He's slinging it. He's doing a great job of leading this team. And same thing with Shane Steichen. Got to be in talks for Coach of the Year. I think there's about five true coaches of the year, and I feel like it's teams that were bad and are making a case to improve what somebody didn't do last year. And turnarounds, like I think that's the stuff that matters when I think Coach of the Year, because like no offense to Andy Reid, but he's winning, he's doing the same thing he's done.
Yeah, you haven't done anything different than normal, and to be fair, you're not looking as successful on offense, so you're actually not looking as good as you did last year.
Right,
so.
Like Mike McDaniel is in it, but I would say he'd be maybe like 5th. I think Shane Steichen's in it. I think Sean Tatum's in it.
D'Amico Ryans
is definitely in it. Like those two are definitely in it. Part of me, it's like I don't know. It's like
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell should be in it. Did he not win it last year? Or?
I thought it was Brian Daboll that won last year.
Okay, then I would say I think Dan Campbell would be. Like it's like the same thing with Nick Sirianni and Kyle Shanahan. Are they being any more successful than they were last year? No, they aren't. These 5 that we've named, they like Dan Campbell's kind of tracks from last season, but he still turned it around. He's gonna have more wins than he did last season at the pace they're going.
This is the first. I mean, for both like Mike McDaniel and Dan Campbell, example, this is the first time the Dolphins are 9-3 since 2001, and this is the first time the Lions are 9-3 since the 60s.
So like that stuff matters.
Yeah, that's like something. They're both doing really well, and Shane Steichen is winning with a backup quarterback. The Broncos, we thought were going for the Caleb Williams contest, are now 6-6.
Yeah, and
DeMeco Ryans has completely turned around.
He's got
Houston.
as many wins as everybody else the last like 2 years or 3 years, something like that. I forget, like in the last 3 head coaches. It's the same thing with like Mike McCarthy. He's turned around. Like you can definitely see Kellen Moore was the problem on offense, but I don't know if he's they're all in the same boat. So it's impressive to see something like if nobody had a turnaround like this, if these teams weren't doing it, then obviously like Shanahan and Sirianni and stuff would be in there. But
with what was it? With Steichen, Ryans, and Payton, those three have turned around. They already have better records than their team had last year. All three of them.
And honestly, I think that's part of why. Which ones did you say? Steichen, Ryans, and Payton. Those three, I think, are my leading three, with McDaniel and Campbell in 4th and 5th, just because McDaniel did make playoffs, so it's like
but we're playing significantly better. But this is what happens when you actually have a good offense coordinator.
Yes, and
defense. My bad. I spoke. That was a slip. The defensive coordinator. We had a good offensive coordinator last year. The offense was not the problem last year, except for like the quarterback staying healthy. The defense was the problem, and the defense has turned it around significantly.
And I think you got a solid backup quarterback too.
Yeah, we do. I think Mike White is solid, and I hope Skylar Thompson has continued to learn more.
But like, let's just say this. Let's get back on the point.
Yes.
Colts, Titans. That was a great game. Titans should have won that one. That botched extra point literally killed them.
And the punt problems.
Right, the punt, let's give some credit to the Colts special teams coordinator, like coach of the week right now, in my opinion, because they got, they got a touchdown, an extra point, and then they blocked a 2-point conversion, I think, or something. They got 2 extra points, so that's a total of 9 points on special teams, and actually more because you blocked that punt, you blocked another punt that led to more points, so the special teams got 9 points, but led to even more points. I think that was a total of 16 points, and you won 31. Special teams coordinator, you are the coach of the week. I do not know your name. I should have looked it up. Johnny, look it up for me, because he is getting my honk of approval. Special teams coach of the Indianapolis Colts,
Brian Mason.
You get my honk of approval this week. I just kind of came up with that one, but he absolutely deserves it with everything I was saying. Like, right? Because they led to they got like a touchdown, I think, off of that, or something to tie up the points, right?
He came over
a field goal. They got at least 12 points. I forget the sequence of how the points came through, because it was a while. You could not have told me that they were going to be tied 25-25 with how some of the points came to be.
Right. He came over from Notre Dame, which had one of the best special teams units in the country last year.
Bravo, sir. Bravo. Titans, I mean, bad thing is with all that special teams play, that's where the extra point comes into play, because they did the Belichick thing where the I forget, the gunner, like ran in. Yeah, I think is the guy on offense or on the kicking side or the receiving side. I don't know which one's the gunner, but if he was covering the gunner, he went off, blocked the punt, and the big sequence with the Colts was that they injured the puncher on the Titans, and that threw off the extra point, and because Ryan Tannehill was the holder for the ball, and it was just that extra point really mattered. It would have been 26 if everything went the same way. It would have been 26-25 with the Titans winning, and that loss really hurts, especially because I wanted the Titans, because playoff position and stuff like that. So
right, but the Colts are looking like a good team, so it's It's going to be interesting to see who the playoff picture ends up as, which we could do an entire podcast about predictions and stuff.
But sucks that there were a lot of injuries. I know Derrick Henry got hurt. We'll see if he's back for
He cleared the concussion protocol.
Oh, okay. So good. He'll be back for the you don't want not to play Derrick Henry on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins.
Right.
Even though Spears was doing really good too. So
I don't know if I don't know if Derrick will be on the team next year, but that's speculative.
Right. So we get more into it, but what was his name again?
Brian Mason.
Brian Mason, shout out to you. My honk of approval, and I hopefully remember your name for when it comes up again.
So just like too soon predictive thing like you said about DK Metcalf being traded to the Dolphins. Brian Mason, future head coach in the NFL.
If he keeps coaching how he does, look at special teams guys know all the players. John Harbaugh, special teams head coach. He's special teams coach, right? He's the head coach now, right? I think he came from the special teams, didn't he?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not get somebody like that? Like, honestly, I would not be surprised in maybe 2 or 3 years if he coaches. I could see him. I could see him somewhere in the NFC South. Like, honestly, with the way he's going, he'd probably be better than Arthur Smith right now in Atlanta. But that's not.
He would have been better than Frank Reich in Carolina.
Who knows what he might, if he keeps doing stuff like this, he could get an interview. We'll see if he gets an interview. So that might be too early of a prediction, but let's see if he gets an interview.
So he will be a future head coach. That is my too early prediction.
I think he gets let's see if he gets a head coaching one. That one I feel is like too soon, but so
it might come in 2025 or down the line, but it will happen, and this podcast is going to be one of the first mentions of it.
I think it's too soon to give him. I think it would be. I'm not calling it because I think it would be too soon if it's just his first year in the league to get a head coaching interview. But I definitely could see next year. But you know what? No, let's call it. Let's call it. He'll get one this year.
Right.
One at least. So with that being said, let's move on to another close game. Everything else has been close this year. Well, it wasn't close at first. The Lions were up like 21-0, and then the Saints came back. So it's just like
the game that shouldn't have been close,
right? But the Lions won 33-28. I know Derek Carr got hurt. I don't know what the Lions are right now. Like, they should not be giving up these points when you're up 21 and being that close to a loss.
Right? I don't know what the defensive struggles are. Offensively, they're still fantastic. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how Jared Goff did, but Sam Laporta had a stat line like 140 yards.
Right. The Saints.
Jared Goff did fine. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So yeah, he did fine. So like, it wasn't. I don't think they turned the ball over that much.
Right. I just the Saints. I mean, they got weapons. They just need to come in. They need to get a new. They need somebody who just knows how to run the offense and know how to use like Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Olave. I know Rashid Shaheed didn't play, but Shaheed when Michael Thomas is healthy, and Derek Carr just needs to be able to get the ball away. And we'll see what happens because the Saints should be better than what their record says they are.
Right, and they're still magically in, and they're still in their playoff race though.
They are. Anything else from the Lions?
The Lions defense just the same. The Lions defense shouldn't give up stuff, and the Saints should be. The Saints feel like they have everything except for coach. And it feels like a lot of the people from the NFC South teams are saying that they all want their coaches gone, and Carolina's already did that.
It would be absolutely wild for a team to make the playoffs, because you have to make the playoffs, because we talked about this last week. But yes, it would be absolutely wild to not only get fired if you made a playoff game because you have like a losing record, because I don't know if Arthur Smith's going to have to really impress here in the next few weeks. But I think it'd be absolutely wild, but perfect if every team in the NFC South fired their head coach.
Well, I need to look up if an entire division has ever fired all their head coaches, and the entire division had new head coaches.
I mean, we got one down, so Dennis Allen I could see, Todd Bowles I could see. The only reason Arthur Smith stays around is because he actually has a winning record. But I do not know if I'm signing there if I'm an offensive player, because I'm like Kyle Pitts is going to get out of there.
Kyle Pitts is going to erupt as a tight end. then when he gets to his second team.
Broncos, Dolphins, some team that can use him right. So speaking of Broncos, we'll just go on to that game because
it was a very close game.
In the second half, I was not really happy with how the Broncos defense got shredded for like 100 and some odd yards in the first half. Nor did our offense play great in the first half either. Like, I don't necessarily care for that penalty that got called on Alex Singleton. That led to the because especially when it was not offsetting. I don't know. Please tell us if you are listening. Have you ever heard of not offsetting penalties? Like,
right? I always thought like even if one was egregious and one was not, and one was just a minor penalty, they still offset because that's just how it works,
right? That being said, we with their run defense and the ability to get to Russ was great. Like I can't, like their defense came to played better than ours. They got the takeaway that we usually get, and honestly, we lost by 5. It wasn't. I didn't feel like it was a horrible loss. It was a disappointing loss, but we were fighting. We were fighting like we fought all season. I think there's only one game where I felt like we were like it was really bad, and I think that was the Kansas City game in Kansas City.
What I heard from I think it was Brandon Perna, since I follow him on Twitter besides on his YouTube videos, that he mentioned that you didn't get the interceptions, like the turnovers that you normally get, and you normally score like field goals off those turnovers. And if you get 2 turnovers with 2 field goals, you win that game.
Yeah.
But besides, the final throw.
I didn't even hate the throw. I didn't even hate. I just wish that maybe we would have thrown it away and tried for one more because nobody looked set on that offense. Like I don't know what that was. I heard from somebody, and I don't know if it's true, if some of the offense thought that there was a false start and that's why they weren't running correct and they looked confused.
Right? Like so would have to relook at it, but
it's a loss, but you know what? Still in the playoff hunt. I know I'm like, oh no, 6-6. Everybody's 7-5, but that's it. Literally every other team that like everybody else is 7-5. They can use
two of those, all 3 of the teams in the wild card spots have backup quarterbacks. Now, granted, Gardner Minshew is doing really well, and the Colts team is really well, but
they've got Mitchell Trubisky, who actually made it to the playoffs, I believe, one year.
And Joe
Flacco, who won the Super Bowl again, and beat our team. So I might be a little more weary now, but they still all lost. And the Rams, we'll talk about this.
They all have good defenses, and as we said, and the Colts is good special teams.
Oh my gosh, I'm rooting for the Patriots on Thursday.
Best of luck on that one. Luck on that one. I mean, granted, their defense.
It's going to be a defensive battle.
The Steelers' defense is probably going to win the game by scoring the points for them too.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe Malik Cunningham can play, but we'll see.
He needs to get in there. You have to try someone besides Zappy and Joe Mack.
Got to try something else. But that being said, I don't feel like I don't feel like I had a horrible. I don't feel like it was a horrible overall game. We had some mistakes. We were bound to lose one, and you know what? The Eagles lost 2, so nobody has a 6-game win streak either. I think somebody has a 4-game win streak now. I think that's a 49ers. So I think they got the biggest one in the league right now.
Streaks end, and the only streak that matters is the one where you start winning all the playoff games.
Yep, that's the only one that matters. The 3 to 4 game streak there, the only one that really matters. You got to get into it, so we got to win those to get into it. But we got the Chargers coming up this week. I haven't looked at the stat lines and stuff, but with how they played against the Patriots, if our defense can play as good as the Patriots did, we could, might be able to get one against another division rival, especially since, and I know they'll probably be pissed because of what happened at the end of last season, but we'll see if they use that as motivation.
It looks like the betting odds are you are the underdog.
How much?
3.
So that's pretty much just
they're giving them the home benefit.
Yeah.
Granted, if either you're going to get into a shootout with them, or there's going to be barely no score at all based on how the Chargers games have gone.
Well, if we can play, our defense should be as good as the last couple they faced. If we watch the film on there and we can get our offense rolling just a little bit, that could be a win for us.
I expect it to be somewhere in the teens to 20s in points. unless it becomes a legitimate shootout or defensive scores.
I can see it ending 20-13, maybe 20-10.
I don't see it being that high, but I do think you have a good shot because of the problems they've been having, the Chargers. So
yeah, so we shall see. Did we? Other close games.
There's one close game, and then there's the other that wasn't really close.
Right. Well, but those were kind of big ones. So like Buccaneers beat the Panthers. It was a division rivalry. All I gotta say is Baker still looks good. I think he's still a starting quarterback in this league. I know I will say that until I will say that for the rest of the season.
I don't. Baker is not the problem. I think
the
defense, and you have a defensive focused coach who.
Yeah. But Mike Evans, bravo! You've got 10 in a row seasons of 1,000 yards plus, and you've been. It's only 10 in a row. 10 seasons he's played. Great job. It's not just Baker.
Hall of Fame.
Jameis Winston.
Right. Hall of Famer wide receiver.
Right, only one behind Jerry Rice. So I know that you're not as flashy as some people, like Randy Moss, but
I still take him for my team.
Right, I was gonna say, like, you legitimately have to. You're a Hall of Famer, first of all, Mike Evans. Second of all, you are easily a top 10 wide receiver. You are. You're just like one of the all-time best. And I just like you aren't gonna be like the biggest flashiest person, but if somebody was like, oh, here's like the greatest, who are you taking for your, like, first of all, if you've got a team of like 7 or 8 wide receivers on a team, I'm taking Mike Evans. But like, if I had to take like maybe the top 3 off the top of my head, I'm taking Jerry Rice, I'm taking Mike Evans, and those are at least my 1 and 2. I want to say
I'm taking probably Tyreek Hill 3 with them too, just for the speed and stuff.
Tyreek, and maybe he's at least proved it. Like, I gotta see the rest of them, but like Mike Evans always gets downplayed as not one of the greatest, but he is. Like, they don't talk about, like, with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and AJ Brown and all that, but you're one of the greatest, and I would definitely take you if I because it's really hard for me to say, like, man, who wouldn't I take him? But I also would take like Emmanuel Sanders, but I also love him.
He's a good he's a fantastic receiver. He's a Hall of Famer, and Tampa Bay should be better than they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, were you talking about Emmanuel Sanders being a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, why not?
We made a lot of Super Bowls, but honestly, I was gonna say, like, this goes besides the Broncos. This goes on to my Broncos stuff, but I can't believe Rod did not Hall of Famer yet. But anyways,
also, I liked Rashad White's been doing good at 100 scrimmage yards in this game. I mean,
right? I mean, I think when I look at a 21-18 game, I'm just like, the fact that the Panthers could score 18, that speaks more on the defense not being able to do, and they had injuries, so I can at least warrant that. But I'm glad the offense scored and the Buccaneers are still in it right now. So
I mean, the Bucks had a 30-yard run by Rashad White, a 19-yard run by Chris Godwin, and a 13-yard run by Trey Palmer. So, like, wide receivers getting like long runs, like probably through end arounds or trick plays, like, is still showing something on the Panthers defense. Like, and it's good for the Bucks.
Right. Anything else on that? Besides, we could have a whole conversation about greatest wide receiver.
Also good on Chuba Hubbard for having a 100-yard running game.
Right. I'm glad I picked him up from my fantasy league.
Question is, did you play him?
No, but all the chance of still playing him the rest of the season. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
I got a lot of good running backs. He's just there for in case one of my big ones gets injured and I need somebody for the next week, or if somebody had a bye, because I forget. I know there's some other buys, but he's there. He's there in case somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. Last week of buys next week, which is just Arizona and Washington.
Thank goodness.
Though speaking, the randomly, I forgot to mention in the Dolphins game, Brian Robinson got hurt. So if the Commanders did have enough issues, but
right.
But yeah, I think that's good for the Bucks and the Panthers.
Rams Browns. That score looks a little heavier by the fact that it's 17, but it was a lot closer until the Rams got a touchdown in the last 2 minutes and a safety. So it was like 27-19, I think, at one point. So the safety and the touchdown came in the last 2 minutes. So it was in the last 2 minutes, Aaron Donald got a sack. It was probably I know Puka oh man, he's their number one receiver. Like, I know Cooper Kupp is great, but like, you got two number one guys, but Puka's just like, wow, he's just outstanding. And if CJ Stroud wasn't in the league this season, he would be him or Laporta would be offensive rookie of the year. But there's too many good rookies this year,
right? And wish Achan didn't get hurt for like it didn't go to
definitely
AR.
would have been. He's the only one that probably would have been able to fight with CJ Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, Rams are in the playoff mix.
Rams are looking
6-6 too. So
Rams are looking good and might become the. Are they above the Seahawks yet, or they're looking like they're
tied with the Seahawks. So yeah, they're right now they are the 8th seed because the Packers won. Packers are the 7th seed right now.
Well, yeah. So it's amazing that they're like looking like they might be better than the Seahawks in the division, but Matthew Stafford being healthy matters, and that Kieran Williams is breaking out, and that you have Puka
and Tutu Atwell's playing too. So.
I also saw Demarcus Robinson had a touchdown for them as well, and he was always one of those random 4th, 5th good receivers Patrick Mahomes had. And I'm like, he's probably missing.
Who?
DeMarcus Robinson. He's one of like the 4th or 5th receivers that would score touchdowns on the Chiefs.
Gotcha.
Like with Byron Pringle, one of those guys, like the outrange guys, but he was good.
So,
filling the same role as 4th or 5th receiver of the Rams.
Well, the Rams defense is like really coming back and looking good. It's not just Aaron Donald. They're learning from Aaron Donald, at least on that line, the front 7. Anything else with the Browns? We'll see if they get. We'll see if they stay in playoff contention.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're going to be the ones. They're going to be one of the odd ones out.
I think I think Amari Cooper got hurt, and that doesn't help them. But I think they're missing both. It's like having starting quarterback troubles, and losing Nick Chubb early hurt. There's no way around that. I know drafting Nick Chubb was such a steal in the fantasy draft for me.
Mm-hmm. Like Anthony taking Jonathan Taylor. Great deal. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
But yeah, I think the Browns might miss out just because of issues, but maybe just Joe Flacco needs more time to get chemistry with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because, a great defense can only do so much, as the Jets will tell you. A great defense and quarterback issues equals not winning games, unless the great defense is scoring the points for you. But I think that covers the Rams and the Browns.
All right. Now for the games of the week. And when I say games of the week, one was the most talked about leading into the week, and one definitely had a lot of talking afterward. Mm-hmm. So first we'll start with the pre-talk leading up to the week with the 49ers at the Eagles. And well, for me, that one delivered because I thought, I wanted the Eagles a couple weeks to help with the AFC playoff picture.
Right? They did what they needed to, and then we wanted the 49ers, and they did what they needed to.
Right? Because I'm sorry, I'm so tired about hearing the Eagles and how good they were when they were winning these games, just like the Vikings did last season.
They were barely winning these games. It wasn't like impressive wins. Right? Like, no offense to them. Like, they seemed to they're having struggles, honestly. They're a 10-win team, but it wasn't the nicest 10 wins.
Right? They had when I think about the Broncos, they had a lot of losses by one score this year. They've had a few wins. They've had a lot of wins by they had a few wins, I think, by one score as well. But they won the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs by 2 scores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they beat the technically I think they beat still a 2-score game for the Browns too. So because it was like 12-29. That's a 3-score game. So
yeah.
So but that's the thing. I can't think of a lot of dominant more than 2-score wins for the Eagles. Even when they were playing some of the weaker opponents, they didn't have wins like the Dolphins against bad opponents. Except for when the Eagles beat that was one of the few 2-score games was when they beat the Dolphins.
Yep, that was about it.
Like other than that, I'm just I'm trying to the Vikings early in the season, that was a 1-score game. The Cowboys, the Commanders, they fought to overtime with the Commanders.
The only 2-score games they had were the Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Dolphins, which we were injured, and they didn't call penalties on them.
No reason to really injuries are part of the game.
But that's the past. If we play them again, I hope we beat them. I don't want to see them again this season, but
but penalties. That's important. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how they didn't get penalties called, and we'll talk about penalties more in the next game. But that all being said, my gosh, like, okay, like, first of all, I know it wasn't a big deal, but Brock Purdy did come from behind. It was only a 6-point deficit. I know that was a lot of talking points, like, how does he do when he's trailing? That first quarter, they didn't look great, 49ers. But the defense stopped them and got them field goals instead of touchdowns. That being said, they came alive afterwards, the 49ers. Was it 6? I know it was at least 5. I think it was 6 straight drives with a touchdown, right?
Something like that.
It was 42 to 19. So
yeah.
I think it was, if it wasn't, it was at least 5 straight drives with a touchdown from, but I think every time in the second half, every time after that first quarter. So I'm correct. Please let me know if you can, Johnny, if it was 6 straight drives, because I felt like it was 6 straight drives. But my point being was they just looked, well, the Eagles defense looked winded. Nobody wanted to look like they wanted to tackle.
Yeah, no, it looks like it was, let's see, they scored twice in the second quarter, twice in the third quarter, and twice in the fourth quarter based on the scoring summary. That does not say, but that is not exactly like if that's every drive.
Well, if you can find it, let me know. But the Niners, they were running it good. Short,
Yeah, 6 straight drives.
6 straight drives. Damn, that's 5 is impressive. That's more. It's just more impressive. Like,
punt, punch, touchdown time 6, end of game.
That's amazing. That's outstanding, astonishing, AAA game right there, I guess, with the words I just used. Amazing, outstanding, astonishing.
Running out of X-Men adjectives.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gets another A from me. It gets approval, a hunk of approval for that 6 straight drives with a touchdown. That is probably what you can probably also say yours too.
That they were all that and a bag of chips. They were all that and a bag of chips.
I mean, to go 6
the team
straight
performance, yeah.
I mean, Deebo got a couple. George Kittle played great. Like, he not only did he catch the ball, he was blocking great. I don't know if he got a touchdown, but like, I know Deebo got one running. Christian McCaffrey, I believe, got one running. 4 passing ones from Brock Purdy. Well, this is part of why I say Brock Purdy's in the MVP race, because like him and Dak and Tua and Tyreek, they're looking really good. And Jalen didn't look great yesterday.
Well, that's the thing with like Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel, since they both come from like Mike Shanahan coaching tree, is that essentially the 49ers and the Dolphins are built to play similarly, and they're winning similarly, like with focusing on blocking from like everyone, like from Deebo blocking. Those are like key traits and stuff, and that's why like there's so much success with the 49ers.
Yeah.
And also that Kyle Shanahan knows how to hire the best people, the best coaches, because how many people are coming from him?
Well, not just him, but like, let's just say
off the coaching tree. But
I'm just saying, look, I said that I thought Rod Smith should be a Hall of Famer, because Broncos don't have enough Hall of Famers, and they have 8 Super Bowl appearances and 3 Super Bowl trophies. But you know what? They have 2 of those because of Mike Shanahan. And man, if Mike could have if they didn't fire Mike, I mean, I don't know if we would have got another Super Bowl, because I don't know if we would have got Peyton Holding, but the coaching tree from Mike Shanahan,
which just shows you,
I'm flabbergasted by it. I'm trying to use different adjectives here.
To be fair, this just shows you how bad Dan Snyder was, because how the hell did the 2013 Washington team not win with all those coaching?
Right? I mean, sure. It's like they had them, and they also had they also had the coach from
McVay. They had McVay,
the offensive coordinator,
LaFleur, Slovic,
and then Kyle. I mean, I say coaching tree. It's literally his kid doing this. So it's not just. It's like there's so much greatness coming from Shanahan and from Mike to Kyle to everywhere in the NFL. Like,
I mean, even DeMeco Ryans, like he picked him. He became a defensive coordinator. Like Robert Saleh,
Saleh will probably get another. Just the Jets are just a bad organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, and I mean, they had a bit of bad luck this year. I mean,
right? Like if Saleh goes, like honestly, somebody in the NFC South, he'd be great with. I think
As long as, I mean, we don't know if Salah's going or not, because
I don't want to get too into it. I don't think he is because Aaron Rodgers. But back
unless they want like Aaron to pick his own head coach or something like that.
That would be something else. But no, just the 49ers look great. Jalen Hurts didn't look all that. AJ Brown played great. Like, so we'll see what the Eagles can do.
Right? Is the question is, was this just a bad game for the Eagles, or are they beginning a slump? Will this cost them the division with Dallas next week?
That's a huge game, and rightfully so on Sunday Night Football. Thank goodness.
Unless, Dallas plays like they did Thursday and Eagles play like they did Sunday, then maybe not.
Right. We really could talk about this game. We may even get into, Greenlaw getting ejected.
I mean, there's so much to talk about this game, but there's like so much that's been said about this game, and it's just, the 49ers are real, like we said. When healthy, who can beat the Niners? Looks like no one. When they're unhealthy, they're beatable. When they're healthy, unbeatable.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do in the playoffs.
Right. I'm just like super impressed by the Niners. Like, wow.
I mean, they were all so good. Man, I can't believe McCaffrey didn't break 100 yards rushing.
Didn't need to rush that much. I mean,
he made 90. He made 93. It was like, wow, not over 100. I mean, 100 scrimmage yards,
right? He had some catches here.
Yeah, he had 40 yards, so he did have over 100 yards of scrimmage. But
yeah. That being said, on Sunday Night Football, I don't know if I want to say it was a great game, because I think it was a great game for the Packers.
It was.
They played great. 3 touchdowns for Jordan Love, who I feel like he's coming together. They were saying on the broadcast, like, he's got a lot of the same stats that Aaron Rodgers had when he first came in his first season, full season as a starter. So
right, Jordan Love has been up and down this year. I think he's found his rhythm, so I don't think he's the problem anymore. When he used to be the problem, now he's not the problem. So, seasons are fun like that. This was a great win for the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they had some injuries, but to win despite that was good.
Right. And it's like, honestly, the Chiefs, they didn't look great. And now we'll get into the last 2 minutes. First things first. And I don't mean the show. All of that being said, everything that happened and that we will get into, there was a lot. But the big important thing everybody needs to remember is that, no, the Chiefs wouldn't have actually had a chance to win that game with a touchdown.
Yeah, they had to complete the 2-point conversion. No,
for a chance to tie, not even win it.
Right? It's like back in when the Chiefs played the Dolphins, and the Dolphins had magically just two bad plays in a row. That wasn't to win the game. That was just for Miami to tie the game, for a chance to tie the game. Not saying Miami would have won it in overtime, but same thing. It was just a chance to tie the game, and it was like
the Broncos
was a chance to win the game. Yesterday. That was a difference.
Right. That was a 5-point game. So, and that wasn't the only 5-point game. I think there was another one. It was the same thing with the Saints.
Yeah.
But that being said, let's get into the whole sequence of the last 2 minutes. I don't even think it was 2 minutes. I think the Packers scored, and then I think they got a field goal or something, because it was like what? It was 27. Like, Mahomes threw a bad intercept. I think it was a bad route run, and I think he tried to force it. So I don't know if it was a little on each, both the receiver and Mahomes, for that interception. That being said, Packers it was 27-19, and Mahomes. Here's the thing. It started with Mahomes trying to run out of bounds. I'm blanking on his name, but they like to call him Mr. Simone Biles. He knocked.
He legally hit Patrick Mahomes.
He was not out of bounds. He wasn't even had a toe on the white. It wasn't even a whole foot. He wasn't even in there. And they got called for the unnecessary roughness. No, that's not a penalty.
That was a bad call.
That was a bad call. Followed by a supposed fumble. Then it wasn't a fumble. It was, it was really close. It really was close, because of the way the body landed and how the ball was a little shaky at towards the end. again. But it wasn't a fumble, after all. But Pacheco threw a punch. He got ejected from the game. So the 15-yard penalty, which this is where you would think, oh, this is, that's karma. Like, that sets them back to 15. No, it's the next play where they throw it, and MVS gets, that was pass interference on the Packers. But you know what? They don't call it. And I don't know if it's because they called a bad one earlier and they didn't want to, like, mess things up.
Right, you couldn't call, like, you called a bad one on the Packers, so you can, you called one that you shouldn't have called on the Packers, so you can let one go for the Packers. And
right.
I think that's just what it was.
I really think that's what it was. It sucks, but that's the thing.
If you officiate right, you won't have to. Then the things that should get called should get called.
Yeah, and here's my thing. That's not the only problem with the officiating. There were a couple plays that were bad. One, well, here's the thing. If they didn't get called with the penalty where Mahomes getting hit, not out of bounds, does he actually start going backwards? Does he get pushed going backwards? Does that make it a not forward? Does that mean time going off the clock? The ball the clock's still running. So, like, that's an important thing. I'd have to watch it again. I didn't really see it for sure. Lost my train of thought. So let's just say, like, if he was, we'll just say that wasn't something that would cause, let's just say he did get out of bounds still going forward, even if that, clock stops anyways. Forget that shouldn't have been a penalty. But the next two, if there was the whole fumble, that wasn't a fumble. It was still in bounds. It wasn't a fumble out of bounds. There should have been a 10-second runoff because the Chiefs were out of timeout. And it's a review. And that's just one of those rules, like, unless they changed it and nobody's talked about it, that's a 10-second runoff. And then they called, I believe they called MVS or something out of bounds when he was actually going backwards out of bounds, or they stopped or the refs called the stop of progress. And if they stop the progress and call it like that's, it's dead, that's a running clock. The refs are still not doing their job. Like, I try to explain it to my friend. If you have a running, if the clock is running, you have less opportunities to run plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. Like, there should have been a 10-second runoff. I know it said it stopped at 50, but that's the thing. If it stopped at 50 because that was where the fumble was, it's 10 seconds runoff, and it should have been 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing with the MVS play. I think that was the one right after that. It's like, if his progress is stopped in bounds and the refs call it there so nobody gets hurt and he's not moving forward anymore, clock is still running.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped the clock. These refs were bad. It's like, I know everybody's like, oh, it's like the Packers still won. Well, first of all, the Chiefs didn't play good all game. Second of all, it was both sided. With the running clock, that limits what the Chiefs can do. You're hurting the Packers by not enforcing the actual rules. Just like you're hurting the Chiefs by not actually calling penalty, or you're hurting the Packers by actually calling a penalty that there was no penalty. So yeah, honestly, I thought the game ended how it should have, but it was the right team won because the better team of that game won. It was just a mess to get there.
It was, and I mean, the refs have been problematic all year, as we can attest to. That I swear we could have a ref rant part of our podcast, just because we always go into it, as we just did again. But
it was too important not to. Like they're a third team on the field. So
I mean, the problem is that, I mean, it's elevated because these are happening during the prime time, the Sunday night football. Everyone's watching this. There's no other game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That elevates these more. I mean, there are problems during, like, the morning games, but when you're watching so many of them, that you don't cover them as much, unless you watch, like, one of the YouTubers or who makes jokes about the refs being in it, and there have been a lot of jokes being made. But the refs just, they just need to officiate better.
I agree, and that goes back to the whole thing we've talked about. I don't know if we mentioned it on this podcast, but we talked about plenty of times. Full-time referees. It's got to happen. Somebody who basically gets, it's just like they got to do an off season. They got to be at maybe they got to do training camps, maybe be part of training camps, help. So they see what, like, oh no, that might, this is something we would call more in the preseason to get them right.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that they're understanding and watching game film throughout the off season. That should be teachable moments, coaching. It should be like you're coaching them up. Like, there should should be a head of officiating and some head refs that are doing that for all of the line judges and the umpire and right.
I shouldn't be
right.
Right, I shouldn't be hearing
Back judge. Yeah.
Shouldn't be hearing the same ref names or like head of officiating like in the college football, like during the college football games or like even basketball. I've heard like some of these same names that were football refs. I'm like, how are you supposed to memorize all the rules of like multiple different sports? Because that's a lot to know, and that's a lot more than the normal person can handle.
But most of them, like I believe, like Dean Blandino and a few others, they were the head of officiating. That was like a full-time job, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was their job. So these are full-time jobs to like study, and that's the point. That's exactly the point.
Mm-hmm.
That all the referee union, the officiating union, all of that.
Also, like if on the TV, like if the ref, like the head of officiating, like Dean Blandino or whatever, and Gene Steratore can just like, come on, say it's this, then like, maybe they could just get it. Maybe if someone in New York or whatever can just like tell the ref it's this, done, call the penalty. Don't call the penalty. Take the penalty away. Like it should be.
We see them we see them huddle up and say, hey, what did you see? What did you see? I saw that. Well, I didn't see. No. It looked like that, but it wasn't that. And maybe have like that Sky Judge or somebody.
The NFL
in a microphone, like on a wireless microphone, communicating for like there could be somebody in the booth having phone call and them communicating down what New York, what the head of officiating.
Just to be fair, with the technology we have now, the NFL is really archaic in some spots with how we should be able to, communicate with each other, like the players to communicate with the coaches, and with like the refs communicating with the other refs. It's very archaic based on stuff, and I feel like it's this way so they can manipulate the game how they want it. The games how they want it to go. Not saying any conspiracy thing like that, but they're just trying to. This is just how it works for the NFL, and that it's balanced this way. But I feel like it could be done better because of the advanced technology we have.
To be fair, the way that I'm hearing what your wording sounds to me is you just think the NFL wants more drama, and that would be it.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's what the scriptwriter is going for.
Yeah. And maybe that's why they don't make it as easy as
if they add the help of the technology, I think games would go different,
and you wouldn't have as much argument. You like everybody talking on Twitter, social media. This is what they want.
Yeah, F the refs. If people say F the refs, that means they're talking about the NFL. That means there's more publicity for the NFL. We are publicity for the NFL. This podcast, we don't get paid by them, but we are helping them out. Everyone's podcast, all the YouTubers we see, all the podcasters, all the sports media. This is all free publicity for the NFL, and they love it. So this is why they have not changed it, and this is why the NFL is a bit archaic,
smart, different ways to adjectives that we could use, and neither.
It's wrong. Running a business. It is running a business really well, but it is archaic in terms of technology. So
but it gets the drama.
It gets the drama. It gets the job done.
It gets the ratings. And until somebody's like, nah, we're not gonna watch anymore. Like until they start losing ratings, they're not gonna change anything.
I mean, that's why Taylor Swift was shown all the time, and they talked about Taylor Swift because they wanted new NFL fans from the Swifties.
Right. We'll see how long this lasts. Who knows?
And also that's why they promoted it with Mr. Simone Biles. They want that audience, the ones that like Simone Biles. The more famous wife that was there won.
And I'm sure Ciara fans, follow Russell Wilson. And she doesn't go, well, right now she's pregnant. They're having another child. So she's probably not always going to be at the game. But
the Dolphins might do better because HBO might want the Dolphins to continue going because they have Hard Knocks in season for as long as the Dolphins go.
And if you imagine if they go to a
Super Bowl.
Oh. But here's the other thing. Yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot of stories here. Like that's what the NFL wants.
Mm-hmm. The more you talk about something, the better it is for them.
And I'm just trying to think. I had another point with storytelling. Famous people or I was gonna say that's also probably why you see why at some points the Dolphins they had what was it like, I don't know if she still is, but like Jennifer Lopez was
I think she's still a minority owner. I don't know. I
like,
don't know the list of Dolphins minority owners, but
right. But like I think Alex Rodriguez was. I don't know. I forget if Derek Jeter is. I know he's got with the Marlins, so I don't know if he's with who knows. But like all of these, it's like you got some of these famous people.
It looks like it is still Gloria Estefan, Emilio Estefan, Mark Anthony, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Fergie.
So yeah, I mean, if they actually, they could focus on them at the games if they wanted to, and bring those fans into the games a bit more if they actually wanted to.
Happy that the Williams sisters are owners. They're great,
right? Man, I'm just thinking about all this. There was another celebrity thing that I was thinking about, but I mean, everybody's got famous fans. That's why you like probably why like we hear about like all these Chiefs fans. Like there's Paul Rudd and Henry Winkler and Eric Stonestreet. So and now that the Chiefs are winning, you hear about them. You want to see them. That's like Kevin Hart with the Eagles. I had another point too with I think with the Dolphins, but it's just you want to it's fine. There's a lot of storytelling.
That's really what it is, and when it comes to the refs. They are another story.
All right. With all that, we could stay on celebrities and drama.
We can get back to the actual game of the Packers.
I was gonna say Jordan Love played good. Chiefs defense was not that great. They let up AJ Dillon, I think, like 5 yards of carry or something like that.
When the best part of your team it doesn't do well, then you have issues.
Right. So
and they were exposed. If the Chiefs defense can't do great, like they've played a lot of games, then they're going because the offense is still struggling. Except for Isaiah Pacheco, who's doing fantastic.
I think he had a career game, so
110 yards or something like that. And he got ejected, so even if they did make it, I think their chances of the 2-point conversion was lower because he got ejected.
Well, and Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon was
Isaiah Pacheco is like his. I know that some people were saying like Christian McCaffrey behind Trent Williams was a tush push in itself. Isaiah Pacheco himself is a tush push himself.
I don't know if he it's like I rarely remember seeing him stop for 1 yard except maybe against the Broncos.
Yeah, no, Isaiah Pacheco is like a fantastic running back. He probably doesn't get as much focus because of Patrick Mahomes, but he is turning into a star running back.
Oh, he's got to be the third guy behind Mahomes besides that defense, or the second guy behind Mahomes, because he's like Mahomes and Kelsey and then Pacheco.
Right. To be fair, how well they're playing this. To be fair, how they're playing this season, it goes defense, Pacheco, Mahomes, Kelsey.
Would arguably be fair to say.
Because are they struggling when Pacheco has the ball now?
Right. I was actually going to say the Broncos might have held Pacheco less than 1 yard. I was going to say, like you said, tush push, and I was like 1 yard. No, I meant one. Broncos, I think, held him behind a lot, but not all the time. He had positive yards, but they did play him really good. So, is there anything else with this game?
No, I think we are good.
All right, then now we got the Bengals at the Jaguars, Monday Night Football. That leaves us with Monday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Which turned to a more exciting game.
Well, I mean, I think everybody was expecting it when Joe Burrow was in there, but JB still did get the win, that being Jake Browning, and this was the first game in a Monday Night Football game in Jacksonville since like 2011. Yeah. So it has been a while. It was still a good game. I hope that we get another game Monday Night Football next year with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. I hope they get another one. Doesn't go as terribly as one for that.
Well, it was McManus who missed field goal. It really was all that did it to them. And Trevor going down with an ankle sprain. So thank goodness it was just an ankle sprain. Hopefully he'll be able to come back in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but still enough time to the team to keep fighting and to make a playoff. berth. They haven't won their division yet, and the Colts and the Texans are right there. But they do have but the Colts would need to win more than the Jaguars, because if they have a tie, the Jags beat them twice this year already. So
right, no division right now in the AFC is running away.
yeah, I mean, even like unlike other years, even shockingly, the Denver Broncos do have a chance if the Chiefs continue to collapse and the Broncos just win out. The Broncos could win the division.
I mean, in all fair senses, the Chiefs are as many. I mean, the Chargers and the Raiders are the same amount of games away from you that the Bills are to the Dolphins.
Wait, yeah, they are. Wait, yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah, they're both 5-7, so they're 3 games apart. So like Miami's running. I mean, you're closer. The Broncos are 2 games away. So there's no like clear favorite in any of the leaders. But
yeah, but that's what's actually making this playoff race great. Honestly, there's only 2 teams out of it in the AFC realistically, and it's they're not eliminated. Well, I think, are the Patriots eliminated? They're not eliminated yet.
I automatically eliminated, but I don't care.
Well, I'm just gonna say the Patriots and the Jets, I think, are the most likely out of it. The Raiders and the Chargers, yes, they still have a shot, but it just seems very hard to do after with what games each team has left, and this is just the AFC. But other than that, everybody else is realistically in it. I mean, including the Raiders and the Chargers, even if they have a longer shot than the Broncos. And the Titans feel like they are also kind of out of it, even if they aren't mathematically eliminated. If they had gotten the win this week, they would have. But let's talk about the game. God, there was just a lot of good football. It was back and forth, and
the only bad football was that by Tyler Boyd that Josh Allen said.
Yes, and the fact that the Bengals still came back and won that game after that speaks a lot to the Bengals, as well as the defense and the offense. Like,
I feel that the team's better with Joe Burrow, but the team is a good team. That not saying that anyone can win with it, but it's just saying they have the right pieces in place for the backup to have success. And in this day and age, you have to have a quality backup. Backup quarterback are not just some guy who does okay. They can't be like middle of the road anymore. They need a higher quality. They need to be a higher level backup quarterback.
Right. Well, and coordination. I mean, I think Zach Wilson, and that's a whole nother story, but I feel like he's a capable backup, and that, Tim Boyle is not, and he got waived. But yeah, the capable backup is very important. I think it's arguably a top 10 position when this season, when you consider all of the injuries and Brock Purdy last year and Lamar Jackson last year, and
Tua last year. I mean, if we would have had like a consistent backup and not just the backup getting knocked out for the third stringer to take over in a few games, if you have better backups, you would win. You can still win games, like the Colts are.
And funny enough, when I say Brock Purdy, I mean both. For instances, Brock Purdy coming in for Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy getting injured.
Right, but how many
double-edged sword on that one?
I mean, you can only have so many quality backups. No one expects you to have a quality fourth quarterback,
right?
You need a quality backup quarterback. You an okay and a pretty all right third string quarterback, but no one expects you have like a top quality fourth quarterback,
right? It's so hard because like we watched this game and it was just there were some like good passes. It was just a solid game. Like nothing truly stood out to me except for maybe like that Josh Allen interception, and except for I know everybody was calling like what, there was a hold, like nobody saw the hold. The hold was not the guy, not the Bengals player holding up his hand. It was on I think it was on the other player, number 91. He was getting held.
Yeah, there was definitely clearly a hold when you see it. He was pulling the jersey and
in the top in the top area where they say it's like it's the chest and the shoulder pieces. Like it's like that's the hold.
Yeah.
So I had no problem problem with them calling that a hold because I saw it early.
Mm.
They may not have called it on that one and stuff, but they got the right call. They called the right penalty, maybe not on the right player.
Yeah, and I will say that it was good that they kept up with the run game with Joe Mixon. Like if you have a good running back, like you just have to use them to make up. So the backup quarterback does not need to do everything,
Right. Well,
and that made it easier for Jake Browning.
it does help that they had such they have such weapons. They have like four, the four good weapons, or three good no, four if you include Mixon and stuff. But yeah, that really helps. And honestly, like I feel like even though Zach Taylor made it to a Super Bowl, we don't give him enough credit as coach.
Well, judging by I said they should have fired him and pick up Eric Bieniemy a few years ago, and he's still coaching Zach Taylor. Definitely has a lot more credit to him than I originally thought. But some of these coaches have come from Miami and didn't do well for us then, but have learned how to be better coaches since they were with Miami. It shows just that they can evolve and grow. So, and I think it helps they have a good defensive coordinator as well. Jacksonville had a lot of injuries besides Trevor Lawrence. I know Christian Kirk's out for a bit now too.
Yeah, they got a lot of injuries to deal with, and two division rivals coming up. So it's gonna be a really interesting time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do they play this week?
The Browns. The benefit of the Jaguars is they do not have to play the Colts or the Texans again this season. They're done with them, so they don't have to worry about them. So they have a little bit of a benefit there. Problem is they have to play two tough AFC North teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from here. Honestly, is there anything else that we want to talk about with the game?
I just want to say thank you to the Bengals for helping the Dolphins now control their own destiny, being the number one seed in the AFC. The Dolphins just need to win out, and they get the first round bye and all the home games in the playoffs, which would significantly give us a competitive advantage, which I'm hoping for. But 1 week at a time.
You're right. They control their own destiny, and it's gonna be a fun 5 more weeks.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, with that, I think that concludes our podcast for this week. So thank you for joining us, and we shall see you here next time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Give us any feedback. See you here next time. Bye.